All right, guys. We are here. Sorry about that delay with getting everything started. Seems like there was an update between the broadcast software that I use and YouTube, and the servers changed, but weren't updated in my software. So, found it, fixed it. We're good to go now. Yeah, okay. So, it's February. Amazing. Already got a month down in 2019, and it is getting ready to get crazy around here. I titled this one, Let's Talk Sign Making, because although that's a lot of what I do, this month, that is just an insane amount of what I do. And hey, I see JK Canvas is there. Give me an audio check if you guys are hearing me well, just to make sure. I always don't want to get too far in with no audio or bad audio. So this month I am going to be going to WorkBenchCon and to Houstex, which is like Houston's and the Southwest's baby brother of FabTech. And I just want to check that out. I had such a good time at FabTech that, I thought I'd give it a shot. And yeah, those are my two big travels. I got to go to WorkBenchCon, and I'm driving. I'm going to stop and visit with a viewer on the way there who is a fellow sign maker and has, it's super cool. I got a call one day. I was just getting ready to walk out the house, and it was like, hey, we watch you on YouTube, and we saw how you did this one sign. Actually, I think I saw it on Instagram, and we want to, we've got a customer wanting something real similar, but there's this one part of it that I can't figure out, or we don't know what the best way to do is. And it seems like you've done a bunch of them. So, can we, I don't know what that means, JK. Will, yeah, we don't know how to do this one part. So can you walk us through it? And, a lot of people would be like, well, that's kind of, this is my business, that's your business. But to me, it's not like that, because with plasma cutting and sign making, if you're not within, a reasonable distance of me, you're not really my competitor in my books. Because as much as, small signs and just flat plasma cut pieces, I can ship those, that's not a problem. Big signs, really, in a lot of cases, unless it's like a monolithic piece, in a lot of cases, you need to be there to install them. And I don't like to send pieces out to be installed. And I'll wrap back around to that in a minute. So I just walked them through the process, and actually I have a video that has not made it through editing on exactly the type of sign they were thinking about. And I will, I'll actually pull up a copy of that, just because that'll make life easier. So yeah, here we go. So let me see, what are we doing? This one. Sorry about that. Okay, so this was a sign I did that is, it's individual pieces stud mounted into a like a concrete wall. This one's got stucco over the top of it, and trying to get all those to line up right is a real pain. And so I use a stencil. It costs a little bit of money to do because I've got to, spend the money to make a stencil, but the end product is so much better and it comes out just right. So yeah, went through that, and this viewer just happens to be kind of right on my way to Atlanta for WorkBenchCon. So I was like, well, let me come by and visit. Why not? So we're gonna do a meetup and do a little collaboration, which will be fun. And speaking of shipping and collaborations, I just had Stu from Yellow Mug Inc. in the shop. We built a map. I'll jump back over to this screen again. We built a map that's, all the continents except Antarctica, and then all the major islands of the world. And we built in a metal French cleat. The video is going to go over that. And then because we're juveniles, we had to light it on fire because it's metal and it doesn't matter. But that was one where I met Stu when I was up in Chicago on my Big Maker road trip. And I think it's in the second video after I visited HTP. He was just a viewer, and I just went and saw his thing, his setup at a small business fair. And so Stu got in touch wanting to make this map and wanting me to make pieces and then send them to him to install. And I was like, I'll cut pieces out, but I don't really want to start getting into the mounting mechanism unless you're involved in that, because what makes sense to me might not make sense to you. This is a big project, and it needs to go smoothly. So I gave him a discounted rate, and he actually flew down to Oklahoma City. We built the project, and I put it on a crate, and we shipped it back up to Chicago. That was last weekend, and turned out great. The final assembly, I'm kind of sitting on the video until I get, pictures and whatnot of the final install. But the video is pretty much done. I like to try and edit stuff like right after I do it so that everything's still fresh in my mind. And I thought you guys might actually get a kick out of this. I have like a 10-year-old webcam hooked up on the other side of the room so that I can do this and show you what the editing setup looks like in here. This big light up here is normally turned off or not there. What I have is two 4K monitors here, and when I edit on this screen and then have all my settings right here, and then like a file manager here, and then up this TV up here, which I'm actually going to move lower, but whatever. I have a live output. Let me see. So if I have a video open, this is the little preview window I get to work with. And if I'm editing the effects, it's even smaller. The preview window is only that big, but that shows what's right there all the time. And that has that's been something I've been wanting to add for a while, and I just finally have recently. So yeah, that's been a nice little update or upgrade for me. So yeah, sign making. So before I leave for WorkBenchCon, I have to build an entryway sign for a neighborhood. I've got to build a sign for the front of an office. I've got to build a sign for the lawn of that same office, which at least it's the same logo. It's different signs. I've got to build a sign that I'm delivering to somebody in Atlanta, which that was just a coincidence. That's the only reason I decided to actually take that one on. And I've got to build my part of the collaboration with this viewer I'm meeting. And I've got to build a sponsored project for Black Stallion, who makes gloves and welding jackets that I use. So, yeah. And I have 11 days to do all that. I just got deposits on everything, so now the work starts. I'm gonna actually try and get it all done by Monday or Tuesday, so that things can go to the powder coater without me having to pay a rush fee and get everything processed a little bit faster. So you guys that are here, tell me what you guys are working on, what you're building, or I'd really love to hear you guys' opinions on some of the more detailed elements of what I do that you'd like to see more of. I make full build videos. Sometimes they're just quick and more of just like a watch along thing. Sometimes I stop and do a voiceover walk through the whole thing. And I like to mix it up a little bit, but I do like to get some feedback on what people like. A lot of the time comments are just either, somebody in a bad mood being negative, or like, hey, good job. But you don't really get like, I liked this part of it, or I liked that part of it. So if you guys are willing, it'd be good to hear that from you guys. What else we got going on? Other than, like I said, I should pull up a map of where I'm going. Let's see, maps. Nope. Yeah, so WorkBenchCon, if you guys know, it's kind of a maker meetup, a content creator meetup, a little bit of everything in between. And that will be quite a bit of fun. Yeah, thanks, Will. That's what I look for in other people's videos is the stuff you can learn from along the way, and so that's always good to hear. Oh man, okay, so here we go. I have made up a map. I'll jump back over here. This is start working. Okay, here you go. So I have these 2 trips coming up, and if any of you guys are anywhere along that route, it'd be, it's always fun to bump into people. So give me a shout out. Will, yeah, I've been trying to go into how I do jigs a little bit. There's a part of me that wants to start a series kind of like, and I don't know what to call it, so give me ideas if you guys have them, but I kind of want to do like a "This is why you suck" series, or like "This is why I used to suck," or that's the problem, is I can't figure out what to call it. There's part of me that wants to just go like, "You suck at blank," but like, and kind of go over some of the tips that I use regularly that are always well received, or people are like, "Wow, I never heard of that, or never saw that before." Like when I use sand to mask things off when I paint, that's a big one. This video I did with Stu from Yellow Mug will be a there's a whole section there. I've been at my shop for coming on 7 years and have never popped a fuse, have never had an electrical problem. I don't know that I've ever even tripped a breaker in what I do, because my side of it I wired, and it's actually wired up correctly. But somehow we managed to, I had Stu in the shop, we got to the shop, we started cutting, we were 10 minutes into our first sheet, and we didn't trip a breaker. We blew a fuse in the fuse panel on the other end of the building that feeds the sub panel that's running all of my equipment. And so it took a little while just to find the fuse panel in the first place, and then we went and those fuses, I think one of them was dated like 1978. Nobody does maintenance like they're supposed to, and that is outside of my purview, but we ended up getting new fuses, and we were back up and running, so I don't foresee any problems with that. But yeah, so that, that whole thing kind of devolved into a little bit of there's a whole section of that video that's like, all right, so you're plasma cutting on an expensive piece of metal and something goes wrong. How do you fix it? And we went into how to pick up your cut where you left off, or how to amend the file so that it does pick up the cut correctly. And that, in the end, it worked out fine. We got all the pieces made and shipped off. I think Stu and I, we figured it was going to take 4 or 5 hours to put everything together, and then with the fuse stuff, it ended up taking 7.5 hours, something like that. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah, let's if you guys want to see some of what's going to be coming up, yeah, so you got the live preview over here. Here we go. I'm going to jump into Fusion. I'm doing this sign for Black Stallion that is... This is ultimately... Oh, now it's going to open in a separate window. Damn it. We went through a bunch of revisions, so this is ultimately what we ended up with. It's going to be a pretty cool little project. They're coming out with a new line of gloves, and we'll be, I already wear Black Stallion gloves. I really wear, I have a set of Tillman gloves that I don't use very often because they're more TIG gloves than anything else. At FabTech, DeWalt actually gave me a set of their welding gloves, and I really like them. But the problem is they're fairly thin, so they're really good for like running around, just tacking things together. But when you actually get into like long beads or your hands next to the arc, they're not awesome in that situation. And then I have a set of Black Stallion TIG style gloves that are a little bit thicker than the Tillman or the DeWalt ones. And I have a set of Lincoln and Black Stallion, like more MIG and stick gloves, the heavier type. And those have, it's kind of, I'm not really a big fan of like, this is the one glove to wear for everything, because there's different situations. If you're fabricating, and I get slack for it, because sometimes I'm not wearing gloves in videos, and that's mostly because I'm working on little pieces and you don't have the dexterity you need to work on them with gloves on when I'm tacking everything together. But when you go into full welding, I'm pretty much always wearing gloves because I don't want to get burned. So that's the Black Stallion project, and then I've got what's the other one? I have this neighborhood sign that I'm doing, and this one's actually going to be pretty interesting when it's all said and done. It has a actually let's just do the render while we're sitting here. Why not? It's got a LED backlight, and it doesn't render real well because it's going to be a shiny piece of metal, so it always washes out the render. But this is one thing that I do. If you guys are in this sort of business where you're making custom stuff, especially high dollar custom stuff, it's really helpful to be able to give a customer a realistic photo render, because you get a okay, so we've killed the stream by doing this. All right, let me stop. Okay, I hope I didn't just drop out. Let me know in the chat if I did. But you when you can give a customer a photorealistic render, it's a big jump up. And Fusion 360 is pretty easy to do that with once you know your way around the modeling side of it. The only limitation with Fusion is there's really not a lot of different there's not a lot of different default textures and materials, and there's only like 8 or 9 backgrounds. Like this, what you saw there is like a valley background, but it's the only one with a road in it. So if I need to show somebody something on the side of a road, I'll normally line it up here. And they changed with the newest update, or a little while ago, they changed the way that the pivoting mechanism works. But anyway, yeah, so I can show somebody a half-ass version of what that would look like on the side of a road. But it really helps drive the sale at the end of the day, is when a customer, and you can look at drawings all day, but when you can see something where you can actually see depth, that's a big help. And especially if you can get it all photo pretty like this Black Stallion one, which is, that's just a photorealistic render, and that's not even like a very good one, but it shows how the light's gonna look and everything, so we're good to go there. All right, guys. Y'all have any questions? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Master Bauer, for letting me know. Oh, Ronald Highboy is asking, is it hard to switch over from SketchUp to Fusion? So in SketchUp, right, like you make a shape, and then you kind of work on the faces of that shape. You can, say you had a cube and you want to give it horns. You're going to draw little triangles and extrude them up and then maybe bend them. And that's, it's very, it's really easy for your brain to kind of work in that space because it's almost like you're playing with clay or something. Whereas in Fusion, everything, it's when you look at it at first, it's super daunting. And I am going to drop a link in here. Let me see. How about this? JK Canvas, go grab a link to the YouTube channel DN Handcrafted. And throw that up in there. I will I'll make it so you can do that. DN Handcrafted did a great set of like intro tutorials, and it's about making a pencil box, I think it is. And you know, it's super, like, I have no interest in making a pencil box, but he goes through how to do it amazingly well. It was a big jumping off point for me. I'd had Fusion installed and wanted to try to figure it out, but he when that came out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. I'll just follow along with his tutorial, and by the end of it, I felt confident enough to explore the software. And then, you know, if you have a question, you can Google it. And when you Google it, though, be really wary because the Fusion so this whole thing, like software, right? Everything now is a subscription and it's constantly updated, and that's nice if they're fixing things. But one of the things Autodesk does is they change stuff. Like they move buttons around, or they, you know, this button used to be here, but now you got to click here and then open a window and then there's the button. So when you're following a tutorial and it's like, oh yeah, just click on this, you can't find, you know, you have to spend some time and figure out what you're supposed to click on. That's my only really big complaint. But so the way Fusion works is you start, let's just, I don't know, anybody else interested in seeing a little bit of how this is done? I'll jump over here and show one off. Let's go with, yeah, we'll just go with this Black Stallion project. Okay, so with Fusion, this is called a sketch, and the sketch it's basically a 2D drawing where you lay everything out. And you know, I can go in here, and this was a file they sent me the graphic, and I've laid everything out from that. And then you build up off of that sketch. So stop the sketch. All right. So one by one, you build up all the pieces. Oh, this wasn't even the right one. This is the one I need. Yeah, so I've got all the components hidden. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so yeah, like we'll jump into the sketch. There we go. There's the sketch. And so once you've finished your sketch, you would extrude out all the components basically. And there's not too much more that I'm doing here. Like we've got the wall that it's going on, and then a frame and the expanded metal. And then it's basically just like add the letters. And if we zoom in here, you can see how they work. Like they're sitting off of the background. And if I can, okay. So this is the command to extrude them, and I'm hoping that shows up well enough. But basically, you can see on the sketch, like I've selected all the faces, and then it's an offset because I want it to float up in the air like that. So the offset kind of jumps you off the page, off the sketch page, and then down here I have a distance, which is a thickness, and then under operation you'll normally have join or cut, intersect, new body, or new component if you're making a whole new shape. And that's basically it. You build it up that way, and then once you got it the way you like, and you're in this like 3D space, I could go in here and let's say I want to do a fillet, which is just the F hotkey. I could grab this line here, and if it were the way I did this model, this triangle isn't treated as one whole body, but normally it would be. But yeah, you could just grab this in and like roll that fillet. Let me move the camera. And this is where Fusion really jumps ahead of SketchUp. Is you know, when you want to do fillets and whatnot in SketchUp, it's a pain. So SketchUp is really good for like flushing out an idea. All right, I'm done with that. Yeah, so SketchUp's really good for flushing out an idea, but if you want to go up to like a photorealistic render, get all your fillets right, that's where it starts to just become a nightmare. And I'll actually open up one more that kind of shows off exactly the big benefits here. Nope, that's the wrong one. So I actually got hired just to build this, just to make this model for a guy. And this is like an insect cage. And he didn't know exactly what he wanted, but he physically had a cage. And he was like, I want this modeled, but I want to be able to change things. Yeah, this is the wrong one. So, you know, I basically made this model. Each over here on the left, there's all these different parts. And then there's actually a motion control set up. So if you grab right here, grab the door, you can open the door and close the door. You know, you can open this tray and it'll only let you open it as far as it would go in real life. But one of the really cool things about this is everything is, the parameters of everything can be defined in formulas, this is where Fusion just jumps ahead of SketchUp. So I've got this parameters window and I'm going to move it off screen. But one of the options here is how many, oh, come on, where is it? Vents per side. See, there's 2 of these holes on each piece. So if I just change that to 3, like, it auto updates and it broke it because they're too big. But so then I can go to vent diameter and change that to like 1.5, right? And it will just iterate throughout and everything's there. So if I wanted to make the, you know, the box width right now is 12 inches, let's say. And I just totally broke everything, didn't I, by using my number pad. All right, I'm back. Thank you, Ronald Boy. Appreciate that. Ronald Hot Boy. Hopefully this stream is going to come back. Let's see. Let me know if we're here. It doesn't look like it. I don't know what happened. All right, we're back. Okay, on my side, I can't see it on the preview, so you guys are gonna have to let me know if something goes wrong here. Yeah, so I gotta get a Stream Deck, the little buttons you can use to control this. Right now I use my number pad, and when I typed in numbers for that, that's what broke everything. But yeah, so Fusion it's one of these things where it's like, you know, it's like going from having your first welder to buying a welder that, you know, like the ProPulse 200, and I'm not making a pitch here, but like going from a welder that works to one that makes your life better or makes your work easier, and kind of opens new doors. Fusion has, you know, I used to do a lot of my previews in SketchUp. I actually bought the professional version like, I don't know, 10 versions ago or something like that, and use that, and then has some more rendering features and whatnot. But when I finally sat down and spent the time to learn Fusion, which really, I mean, I'm a computer geek through and through, but like I had Fusion down pretty well in like 2 or 3 evenings of playing with it. That tutorial series by DN Handcrafted was excellent, and there's a couple spots it is kind of geared more to people that have a decent amount of experience, like with SketchUp and some of the other, you know, who know what the terms are, know what an extrude is, or a revolve, or a fillet, and a chamfer. So if you're not there yet, you might have to pause and watch it a couple times, but it's still a really good tutorial, and there's a lot of them out there. JK Canvas with the weld pack. And I've actually never had a Lincoln machine. I've used plenty of them. And everybody and their brother bought one of these MP2 or 210, what is it? I don't know. 210 MPs, the Lincolns. And they're not bad. I mean, the interface is like almost too chintzy for me. Like the ability to dial in on the equipment, I take it back. It's an awesome interface for a beginning welder. Like, okay, I'm welding on this material, this thick, with this gas and this wire. Machine help me. And it does. But I found it really difficult to tweak that. And like I was using one and we were doing outside butt welds with no backer. So you have pieces of metal meeting like that and there's just air here and you're trying to lay a weld down there. Well, for that, you need, all the wire speed you can get, but a lower voltage. And you can lower the voltage there, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. They're not, they're a really good starter welder, especially for the price. I don't really have an issue with them. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a valid jump there. Going up to something like the HTP has been great. I did just put out my 6-month review of that machine, and I really don't expect a whole lot of people to watch it if you're not planning to buy a ProPulse 200 or a HTP plasma cutter. But it's HTP wanted a review of it, and they didn't have any control over it, which I liked. It was they didn't even care when I did it, that's the kind of sponsorship you want. But yeah, so that's been that. As far as what's coming up, other than just if any of you are in the Oklahoma City area and you want to build some signs this coming week, man, I will put you to work and you will get all the on-the-job training you could want. But other than that, I do have a fun one. Let me see if I can do this again. Yeah, there we go. So we're back to the back view. This light up here it's on a little tripod, and I bought 2 of them. Amazon was running some special or something. They were like $25 a piece, and they plug into the wall. They run on 24 volts, and 24 volts is a pain because it's not easy to get a good battery pack at 24 volts. And of course, if you guys have been following along, you know me. If I can make it run on DeWalt batteries, well, hell, it's gonna run on DeWalt batteries. So I got these little chips, which are basically regulators. They will take any voltage up to 24 volts in this side and then spit out 24 volts on this side, and they're limited to 2 amps, which is, that's why they can be so small, is because they're only drawing 2 amps. This thing is only dealing with like 20 watts, 24 watts at the maximum. So we've got, man, better not just dropped again. All right. So I don't know if I'm still online or not, but here we go. These guys will let me take an 18 volt battery with a busted, from a busted tool. You have the battery adapter at the bottom of the tool, and that will plug into this guy and then output. No, I don't have any of the stuff, but anyway, it'll, on this end, you'll solder on a wire. Oh, I do have them. I knew I had them. Right here. These guys. These are just pigtails of the standard, I'm trying to show it to the microphone like an idiot. They're just pigtails of the standard 5.5 millimeter by 2 point, or whatever it is, 2 point, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, barrel jacks. So basically I will just solder this onto here. This end will connect to the what would normally go to the trigger in a drill. And I'll have to figure out some sort of on-off switch. I haven't decided how to do that yet. And this will allow me to run those lights on DeWalt batteries, which is nice because I have them at the shop. Basically, anytime that you guys see a shot in my little tool room or behind the plasma cutter or at the drill press, any of those, none of those have enough lighting, so I have to grab these lights out and actually to get a half decent shot. Everybody that comes to the shop, JK Canvas in here will tell you, when you're trying to make a video, man, it is just a dance of let's move this camera around. And what your brain does is go, all right, well, let's just get a couple cameras and let them all run at the same time, and then I can just kind of jump between shots. And that's what I used to do. And that's why I have a video that I have never edited, but I refuse to delete, that has 700 and some change gigabytes of footage for one project. Because I had 3 cameras running nonstop for 8 days. And, oh, God. I want to do, that's actually this sign right here that I will, that's this sign. The video for this sign. And I would love to get that video done one day. But, man, I don't know. And then the last kind of, before we wrap up, unless anybody else has got anything they want to bring up, one cool addition to the shop has been this True Weld stud welder. If you guys have never stud welded, I'm gonna have to pull up a video because it's so cool. Like I just laughed like a little child when I was using this thing. So a stud welder basically takes a piece of it's basically just a piece of threaded rod, but it has a profile cut into it. It's almost like, I'm sure these are punched or something like that, but it looks like something you could do on a lathe, and I'm sure you could if you had the patience and knew what to cut. And at the end of that profile is just a little dot, a little divot, or a little protrusion, and that presses down on a sheet of metal, and then the stud welding gun, when you activate it, like lights the arc, retracts, and then drives the stud home. As I understand it, it happens like that, and that that gets everything put together, and that stud is welded along that face, but it's not just around the edge. And as I understand it, it's because the arc starts at that little divot in the center and then spreads out. These, I've done like a dozen of them as test pieces and tried to break the weld, and every single time the stud breaks before the weld does, which, tells you they're as strong as they're going to be because, there you go. Where did I put this footage? Probably didn't sort it yet. But yeah, here we go. Let's open one of these up. So this is a stud weld. Here we go. Trying to get the camera in focus and all that. All right. There we go. All right, let's play that. All right, so you see, you just put the gun down, and boom. Now let's get some audio in there. Bam! It's just like that, and it's welded. Yeah. So, like, that's a 1/4-20 stud, and that's not even like a high quality stud. True Coat sells, or sorry, not True Coat, True Weld Stud Welding sells a whole line of studs, and they sent me some samples, and then I was trying out some other ones that I had, and there's like looking at them, it's very hard to tell a difference. Except the geometry is a little bit different, but they were leaps and bounds above. So I am going to be working with True Weld to kind of come out with a, this is like this can add to your business if you're a sign maker. I mean, really any sort of welding this can add to. But if you're not needing protruding studs every day, it's a hard to justify a purchase. But I kind of have some unique tricks up my sleeve on the sign making side of it, so we're gonna make some cool stuff together. And this stud welder, the one that they sent out, is it's the same sort of thing. When I do these sponsorships, I'm not getting paid. Basically, it's a promotion for equipment type of thing, and that's not necessarily how it's always going to be, but right now, that's how it is. And I really like that because in all the paperwork that goes with that, there's no commitment on my side for any sort of, I mean, I'm not being paid to promote anything. So an honest review is an honest review. And, I mean, regardless of ethically, legally, it's got to be, if you're not a paid spokesman, you have to give an honest review of something if you're being asked to review it. And I disclose that whenever I'm using promoted stuff, and I hope that it's what you guys like out of it. And basically, I try and handle it the way I like to see other people disclose things. A lot of people get on Chucky 2009 for how he does, his promotions, or how many sometimes, and it's really, at the end of the day, it's like, shut up. The video is free. It doesn't cost you anything to watch it. If you don't want to see it, don't watch it. And he discloses when something's promoted. He says, this is a channel sponsor, or they sent this out, or, we're doing a review, whatever. And that's, and Blue Wolf, you're right. There is, if something's just an advert, that's, I'm not a huge fan of that either. I don't generally stick around for those videos. But whatever. We'll talk about Chucky because he's the one that's coming to the top of my mind. He's done a couple videos recently with different Markall. I think it's Markall, the company, with different Markall pens, and they're like a minute long. From the thumbnail, you know what you're getting into. And I actually, I watch them and go, oh, okay, cool. And actually, after one of them, I went and bought those pens because I was needing a specific pen, and there you go. And I used the link he provided because, it's a big circle jerk. We're all supporting each other, so why not? There's nothing wrong with that in my book as long as everybody knows what's going on. And then the other side of it too is I have not. Everybody that I've worked with, except for Black Stallion, I've approached. And that I've liked because it's, you're not... And I've had a number of companies approach me, and I've turned them down. Because either it's a product I'm not using and don't see myself wanting to use, or it's a garbage product, or... It has no, I'd just be doing the video to get paid for it. And that's stupid. I'm not a full-time YouTuber. Like, I'm a full-time sign maker who makes videos. I've had a company that sells facial scrub for men over and over. They've emailed me like 8 or 9 times. And I'm like, I'm not even a big channel. Like, shoot. And I actually finally did have to get a little stern in my last email to him. I was like, hey, would you guys kindly just scoff? Like, I'm not using facial scrub. Look at this beautiful skin, not facially scrubbed. So yeah, that's what it is. But so it'll be, the stud welding thing will be good. If you guys are in sign making, that'll be helpful. And then, Ronald Hotboy, I'm seeing yours, about Blender. I am not going to give a fair review of Blender. See you later, Will. Because I tried to use Blender many, many years ago for making 3D printing models, and I think I was using, I think I was trying to drive a Mustang to get the kids to school. Like, it was not, there was too much power there for what I needed, and it wasn't intuitive, and I didn't like it. And so I went to SketchUp, and when I got out of sorry, Sky DJ, I was trying to understand that. So SketchUp made sense, and it was easy to transition to Fusion, especially if you've ever read blueprints in your life, which I have done a lot of. I used to do bidding in engineering, and that is just blueprints all day. So Fusion was an easy transition, and Fusion is amazing because of that programmatic, or what do they call it, parametric equations layout on the sketches where you can actually define variables. If I 3D print something and like, oh gosh, I finally have them all too, and I didn't even think about it. Okay, so like I did, I did this gimbal counterweight, and it's like, here's the first one, and that was just so I could put a bunch of nuts in it and figure out how much counterweight I needed. And then I printed this one, and it fit perfectly. So I scaled it up, made it a little bit thicker for getting a little bit better support, and then it didn't fit right. And the reason it didn't fit right is because the gimbal has a step over in it. And so I literally, in this one, it's probably not going to show up. Oh, you can see it, that line right there, about a 1/4 inch down. I put a step up in here, and it's a step up of 0.02 of an inch. And because the file was laid up in Fusion, that took like 10 seconds to change that file and then reprint it. Like I went from this one day, figuring out how much weight I needed, coming home the next day, and these are like an hour print each. And I went through all of these until I had the final one that's perfect, which is actually on the gimbal at the shop, in one evening. And in SketchUp, if you wanted to make that change, you're deleting stuff and redrawing it, and that sucks. So anyway, Blue Wolf, what do you use for marking out shapes? Do you mean in the computer or in real life? Because if I'm transferring shapes from one thing to another in the shop, my preferred method is Rust-Oleum 15-minute primer. You lay one on top of the other, and you go psh, 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 and transfer the shape, pick it up, and if you just do a light coating, that stuff dries in like 30 seconds. And then you have your shape, you can cut, you can do whatever you need to, and it wipes off with acetone like that. So if we're just talking all about metal, it's perfectly good. Guys, so like I said, I bet I closed it now, didn't I? Nope. Okay, so I'm jumping back over here to screen number 1. Why does it do this? Everybody, every company's out here trying to update stuff and they break it. All right, so Google Maps. These are the next 2 road trips I'm taking. If you guys are anywhere along those routes, get in touch. Love to bump into people. I can't promise we'll work on something together, but it's always cool to meet up and, see what's going on. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. Like I said, I think right before the next live stream, if my calendar's right, I will be getting back from all these trips. So right before the next one, first Thursday in March. I look forward to seeing y'all. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay, what? Masterbauer mass producing brackets and such. I don't know, man. I would plasma cut stuff because I've got a plasma table. So, but if I was, I don't know, get yourself a set of transfer punches too if you need to transfer hole locations. That I have those, and I have them in 1/64 of an inch increments, from like a 1/16 of an inch up to a 1/2 inch. And I'd love to get Ronald, send me an email or something. because I'm actually going through Baton Rouge, and I'm going to be down there for like a full day and a half. Yeah, set of transfer punches is great. You know, you just drop a hole in, hit it, and you're good to go. It marks, and if you have a good high strength set, see, this stupid map has gone away now, even though I didn't click anything. Now it's gone. Okay. Yeah, the transfer, if you have a high strength steel set of them, that is a perfect way to just, you know, you actually are setting your pilot point for drilling as well. It's not just, you know, it's easy. Master Bauer, stay on when the chat ends. I'll put a link to the ones I have. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate y'all swinging by, and sorry for the technical difficulties here. I hope we've got those resolved for next time. I will catch y'all around.